Hey everybody, welcome back to the my basement here, our new classroom. We're going to talk a little bit about freedom of religion today. But before we get started with that little joke to get things going here, um, you guys all hear that because of all the craziness going on, that Post Malone has had to cancel his tour. I know that's super sad. Post Malone had to cancel his tour. Um, does that make him postpone Malone? Get it? Postpone because he had to stop the tour? That's pretty good. I enjoyed that one a little bit. So let's kind of get rolling here. We're going to talk a little bit about freedom of religion. I do want to make sure that as you're doing this, you kind of follow along with the document that I've shared with you on Google Classroom. Freedom of religion, got a little bit about background. And as you're doing this, you just take notes on this paper here while you're doing it. Make sure you kind of fill in the parts about the historical basis, the Establishment Clause, the Free Exercise Clause, and just kind of follow along with us here as we're doing this and going over this stuff. Civil liberties, freedom of religion. Let's talk a little bit about freedom of religion here. And as you're thinking about this, you see this chart up here, which are the kind of the leading church bodies. If you look down at the bottom, down here, you can kind of see all the different religions. Red is Baptist, that light blue is Catholic, the yellow is Christian. But you can see that religion is really prevalent in the world today. You or in America today. You think about the all the primary elections we've just been having here, and this is an area that Joe Biden kind of swept and kind of won all these primaries in this Baptist area here. He has a tight hold on this area of the country, winning most of these primaries in through here. So it's kind of interesting, but very religious all throughout the country. You can see that light blue here is Catholic. You can see in Ohio, you see a lot of that, and all throughout the rest of the country, lots of areas there. As you think about people who follow religions in this country, that the I guess this darker maroon color here says more than 75% of people follow religion, but there isn't really any spot in this country that shows you where people are not following religion. Our country is a very religious country. People follow religions, whether people like to talk about it or not is one thing, but religion is a big deal in America. Now let's talk about kind of the history of religion in this country, right? We see a couple of trends. We are historically a Christian nation. Of all the religions that we have in America, most people follow some form of Christianity. Nearly 7 to 10 Americans identify themselves as Christian. About 20% say they have no religious affiliation. About 4% belong to other faiths, Islam, Hinduism, Judaism. The other big trend that we see here is that there's this thing called rising secularism in America, and that's where we see people with no religious affiliation in this country, and that's next to Islam. That's the fastest growing population in America, is that people with no religious affiliation, and similar to political parties. Where we see younger generations don't really affiliate with political parties that much, or they tend to will vote Republican and vote Democrat. We also see the same trend with religion. Younger generations tend to be less religious than older generations. And as a matter of fact, I know it's 5 years ago, but 2015 was the first time in American history where where we weren't a major Protestant nation. The majority of religions, the biggest religion in this country, was not Protestant. So it's super interesting when you think about America. We do defend freedom of religion and religious rights in this country. Like, it's something that we battle with a lot. So as you think about kind of, again, history of American religion in America and how it relates to government, right? Our country was kind of founded when people started coming to this new world. They came to find religious freedom. They were being persecuted for their religions in Europe. There was religious diversity in America, right? You had the Puritans, you had the Quakers. We have not always been tolerant of different religions in America. Think about the Salem witch trials. Think about atheists in the early 1900s. And in the post 9/11 world, right? We're not tolerant a lot of times of different religions. But still, in our government, we want to have that wall of separation. We don't want to be a country like Iran, doesn't have that wall of separation, right? We don't want America to be dominated by one guiding principle of religion, or have one religion that everybody's got to follow. We don't want religious leaders to also be our government leaders. In the 1960s, people were really fearful of John F. Kennedy becoming president because he was Catholic. And there were a lot of people who speculated that America would be the next rebirth of the Roman Empire because the Catholics are their leader is the Pope. And the Pope used to be a religious and a political leader in the Roman Empire. You think about that. So we're always fearful of that that our country will be dominated by one religion. So when they put our country together, we decided that we're going to have a freedom of religion in America, right? This is another part of the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law representing an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So what does that mean? It means a couple of different things. One, the first part of the freedom of religion in the First Amendment is this thing called the Establishment Clause, right? Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. Basically, we're not going to favor one religion of the other. There's going to be no national religion, no religion tests for public officials. And basically, our government cannot say, hey, everybody's going to be Baptist, or everybody's going to be Lutheran, or everybody's going to be Jewish, right? Government cannot establish a religion, okay? There are a couple of court cases that kind of go along with this. These are not required cases, but you might see them if we get a Supreme Court essay as something that you might have to relate one of the cases that you do need to know to. This first one here, Lemon versus Kurtzman, basically says that we can give money to religious schools. Engel versus Vitale, which is one of your required cases, says that we cannot pray in school, no organized prayer in school. And then we talked about Yoder versus Wisconsin, right? If your religion, based on your religion, especially with the Amish religion, right, there's no compensatory education or compulsory education past the 8th grade. And then Oregon versus Smith actually has to do with drugs, and somebody was using a lot of peyote, and when they quit their job, they tried to collect unemployment. You cannot. They denied him unemployment basically because he quit his job because he said part of his religion is he had to use drugs. That's not the case. You can't do that. So we do have the free exercise of religion, right? The government cannot mandate a religion or favor one religion over another. These are a couple of ideas about freedom of religion. This is actually part of the little activity that you're going to do. You can take a look at these. All right. The second part of the freedom of religion part of our First Amendment is this idea of the free exercise clause of religion. And basically, this prohibits the government from interfering with the personal practice of religion. Sometimes religious practices can come into conflict with other rights. And as a result, sometimes you can be denied these religious things, or you can be punished for these religious things. But more or less, as long as it's not illegal, you have the right to practice your religion however you want. That's the free exercise part of that. Now, your religion cannot be to drink and drive. Your religion cannot be to sell a bunch of drugs. Your religion can't be to use a bunch of drugs. But it's pretty much as long as the things are legal and they don't interfere with rights of other people, you can practice your religion however you want. That's what they call that, the free exercise of religion. And it stops the government from interfering with your personal practice of religion. So as you're thinking about that, a couple of court cases here. Just the one that we did that was required. This Yoder versus Wisconsin, right? A couple other ones like that. We can't force you to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Reynolds versus the United States is about polygamy, right? You can't have multiple wives. That actually is illegal. And then we mentioned earlier about the using the drugs and collecting unemployment. You cannot do that. So as you're kind of finishing up and you're thinking about this here, what you should do next if you haven't done so, click back to this document here, make sure you fill it in where it says notes, and then make sure you do the case studies down here. I think I mentioned those earlier, a couple of the case studies, and decide whether this fits into the free exercise clause or the establishment clause. Tell me why you feel that way, and then answer these questions down at the bottom. And as always, if you don't mind, as you're doing this, please answer these questions in a color other than black. And then make sure you click turn it in on Google Classroom. If you have questions or concerns about anything, remember on Friday we do have a virtual meeting time, so you can ask questions in about any of this work that we're doing. Have a great day, everybody.